You don't have to be a car enthusiast for the letters G, T and I to conjure up pictures of old school hatchbacks and raspy, rev-hungry petrol engines. Volkswagen knows this and has built quite the legacy around its evergreen badge. Except it never was particularly green. So for the electric era, the car maker has created the GTX brand. And while this ID.4 GTX is the first, the ID.5 has already been confirmed. And surely it's only a matter of time before we see an ID.3 GTX launch here in the UK. But can GTI turn into GTX without losing any of the fun? Let's find out. Volkswagen's first GTX model is a near 300 horsepower four-wheel drive SUV, about as far from the original Golf GTI as you can imagine. But while it may not be true to the GTI brand in that sense, when it comes to practical performance, the ID.4 has it in spades. You can get the same big boot and spacious cabin as the standard car, and thanks to the fact that every GTX gets the ID.4's largest possible battery, official range stands at 301 miles. But VW says that this is an extremely sporty car. But what you and I really want to know is whether this feels like how a GTX should. It certainly looks the part, with some subtle styling changes, such as this slightly more aggressive bodywork, lower suspension and big wheels. There's also some wicked light signatures at the back when you unlock the car. So we reckon it's done just enough to stand apart from the normal ID.4, a bit like how the GTI stands apart from the normal Golf. It's a similar story in here. You get these lovely, comfortable and supportive GTX seats, a bit of flash of red and a badge on the steering wheel, plus some extra fabric and this contrast stitching on the dash, which is probably the most important point to make in here because there's been some justified complaints about the interior quality on the standard ID.4. So it's amazing what a fancy bit of fabric will do. Unfortunately, there's been no changes to the infotainment interface. It's still a bit clunky, and as if these touch-sensitive sliders for the volume and heating weren't bad enough, they still don't light up. So they're really difficult to use when it's dark. It does my head in. Now, while I calm down a bit, maybe it's a good idea for you lot to subscribe to the Driving Electric YouTube channel, where we've got some great videos coming up, and if you hit the bell icon, you'll be notified every time one of those new videos goes live. There are two specs to choose from when picking which ID.4 GTX is right for you: Standard and Max. Both come well equipped, but neither is cheap. You're looking at almost £50,000 for the basic car and around £7,000 more for the Max. Every version gets you 20-inch wheels, that 12-inch infotainment system with nav, plus wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as a head-up display, keyless entry and matrix LED lights. Opting for the Max adds a panoramic glass sunroof, 3-zone climate control, adaptive dampers and a heat pump. But while that's all well and good, what'll make or break this as a true successor to the GTI is what it's like to drive. So, can it live up to the badge? In short, no. The thing that the ID.4 GTX lacks is character. Now, don't get us wrong, we love electric cars just as much as the next person, more so in fact. But it's really hard to get enthused by something that's so quiet. Cars like the Porsche Taycan, our favourite electric performance car, and even the Ford Mustang Mach-E both have subtle sound generators that give the illusion of a stonking engine under the bonnet. But the ID.4 is silent. Now, that's great for when you're doing long journeys or taking the kids to school, but, you know, when you want to drive it like you stole it, not so much. It's a shame because body control is good, the steering's nice and weighty, and the brakes are sharp. Performance is as you'd expect from something with nearly 300 horsepower, pretty impressive. 0 to 62 time takes 6.2 seconds, and of course you've got all that torque available in an instant. More so now that VW has fitted an extra motor to the front axle to make four-wheel drive. But my biggest issue is engagement. It's just not that exciting to drive. So if entertainment is what you're after above all else, and in this price bracket, then take a look at the Ford Mustang Mach-E. But of course, for the majority of the time, you're not going to be hammering the GTX down your favourite B road. You'll be taking it to the shops or to swimming lessons, and for that, the GTX is excellent. We'll come on to practicality in just a moment, but in terms of refinement and comfort, the GTX can do all of that, no questions asked. It can also manage pretty competitive charging rates. Every GTX comes with 125 kilowatt rapid charging, meaning you can fill the 77 kilowatt hour battery from 10 to 80% in 38 minutes. If you do most of your charging at home, that's fine too. A top-up from a 7 kilowatt wall box takes just under 13 hours. We won't spend ages on this as the packaging and practicality is unchanged versus the standard ID.4. That means you get a 543 litre boot with space under the floor to put the charge cables, fold the rear seats down and you get 1,575 litres of space. And remember this, like all of VW's ID models, this GTX has been designed as an EV from the ground up, so there's loads of space to stretch out in the back, only helped by the flat floor. The ID.4 GTX feels like an early attempt at an electric performance car from Volkswagen. Okay, so the original Golf GTI was brilliant, but it hasn't always been plain sailing for the brand. There's definitely been some duds in the 90s and early noughties, but the ID.4 GTX is heading in the right direction. It's quick, composed and just about agile enough for a car of this size and weight. We're certainly not writing off the GTX brand just yet. If anyone can get it right, then Volkswagen can. Head to DrivingElectric.com for the latest electric car advice, news and reviews, and make sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Before you go, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified when the next video goes live.